Well, the UK has found another way to snoop into its citizens' affairs. Internet and phone companies are set to install so-called black boxes, which will monitor emails, social networking activity, and calls, and store data for a year. The authorities insist that only limited details will be kept, but activists are raising privacy concerns. Let's now talk to RT's Sarah Firth. Sarah, why is the UK pushing for this legislation?
Well, the Home Office will tell you that they need this as a vital tool in order to catch criminals, and that as criminals become more technologically advanced, so must they. But you've got to really look at what they're trying to justify here, because this is going to affect absolutely everyone in the UK, and it's going to be your phone calls, it's going to be your internet searches, it's going to be who you're texting, who you're emailing, even your Facebook. All this data is set to be stored in black boxes, which, if the law is passed, the government would be able to access and snoop on our private information whenever they want. Now, this is part of the draft bill, the Communications Data Bill, that the government are saying they need. And it's been nicknamed the Snoopers Charter. And I mean, quite rightly so, because what you've got to look at here is what civil liberties groups who oppose this are saying, which is that, you know, whilst they're justifying this in order to catch those who are committing crimes, and as we said, the Home Office saying, look, if you're doing nothing wrong, then you've got nothing to fear. But what those opposed to it are actually saying is that we're all going to be caught in this government web, and that it's going to make criminals of us all. And it has to be said, if this does get passed into law, then this is going to make Britain one of the most intrusive surveillance regimes in the West.
Now, Sarah, I can understand why the government would want something like this, but what about the British people? How do they feel about the storing of information of their private emails and phone calls?
Well, of course, there's huge concern over the fact that this is yet another measure that's set to erode our privacy. Now, whilst the Home Office say that they're not going to actually be storing the content of that information, this information that would be kept in these black boxes would be kept for up to a year. And those tech experts that we've been speaking to have said that, you know, they would be able very easily to access the content of that. And of course, that causes a huge concern amongst the British population. We're already living in an age, and certainly in the UK, where we're monitored every single day by millions of CCTV cameras. We've got facial recognition. Time and again in surveys, the UK ranks right up there as the very top of the surveillance societies. Now, we've been speaking to some of the people online and on our Twitter and asking them what they think about this latest measure. And the response has certainly been one of a lot of pessimism. People are very, very unhappy about these proposals. We had one person saying, well, that sounds very sinister. I don't like it one bit. And another person on Twitter who responded said, it reminds us of a US TV series that was about the same sort of surveillance system. Well, they do say that real life is stranger than fiction sometimes. And certainly in this case, if this goes ahead, the people who'd have access to this information, our very personal information, would be pretty vast. It would be the police, the Serious and Organised Crimes Agency, intelligence agencies, and HM Revenue Customs, and they'd be able to access this without any kind of judicial warrant. So there's a huge amount of concern about this, and of course it all sounds a bit Orwellian, doesn't it? Having this sort of totalitarian state, the mass surveillance that's justified in terms of a greater good. The Parliament is scrutinising this at the moment, but as we said, if it's passed into law, it could be set to cause some significant opposition. And whilst Big Brother might not be watching us, the UK government could be set to in the near future.
All right. Thank you very much for that update. RT Sarah Firth, live in London.